Hey guys, welcome back to Fully Defined. My name's Chris, and this is the LEGO Build and Learn series, where LEGO builds and SolidWorks skills come together. We are focused on probably the most complex part of the whole project, the Tyre. And if you've completed every lesson to this point, modeled all the parts, it's this one here where you're finally going to finish the assembly. So if you get to that point and you've done everything, please make sure you get in touch, send me an email or leave a comment below to let me know how you've gone and how you found the whole series today. Now, I must confess, when I recorded this the first time, I hit pause a bit early on and didn't realize and completed the model and all the troubleshooting without recording it. So some of the scripting is a bit off in this one, but I've gone back, I've recreated the model from scratch, and I've shown you the details that we're going to be recreating and my thinking process on how we go about them. And you might find more efficient ways to do this wheel. And if you do, I'd love to hear that in the comments. But otherwise, enjoy, follow along closely. Let's get going.
Okay.
So here's our wheel with 3D. This is a Tyre 37x18R. The detail in the CAD model here, look, it's okay. We can do a bit better. It doesn't have the fillets that it has. Doesn't quite have the angles that we'd expect. The inside detail looks a bit wrong. Looks plenty wrong. So we're not going to refer to that too much, but it does give you an idea. I'll take you through the process. So this one should be a bit easier as far as it's a lot more patterning, but you have to set up the pattern the right way. A right plane, front plane doesn't really matter for this. I kind of need that hole size first, but I'm just going to draw the rough geometry. At least it's like flat on that face. It's flat on this face too. So it's got two flat sides, which is really handy. It's just the top where it comes up a bit differently. That's good. I think they say it in the name of the part, 37x18. I'm not sure if the 18R reserve reflects this dimension, but yeah, I get a little bit less, a little bit more. It's going to be around 18. That little detail might change there. And then on the top, that's where it's got the curve, right? So that's a bit trickier to properly dimension. And sketch it in. What we'll do is try and work out the edge here where it's flat. I'm going to dimension like that. The diameter of that section, 31 is pretty close. When do I go to 30? Let's say it's 30, outside to outside. 36, 36 and a half. That's where it says 37. So let's say it's 37. Cool. Inside hole, that's very dark, but get a diameter there. So that's 17. Okay, that looks about right. Now, on the inside of this, there is a bit of fine detail, but it's going to be very hard to measure that. It's a bit better. Again, it's got that sort of rib that runs through the middle. Maybe it's like 3 millimeters. Maybe it's a millimeter raised. Right, let's get into modeling the wheel. Now, the shape here starts with a basic revolve. So we do that on our front plane. We start with a construction line going through the middle. We can also do a second construction line going up, straight up the top, and that can guide us so that we only have to dimension half of the wheel. Now you can either do half the sketch and mirror, or do half the sketch, revolve it, and then mirror the revolve. I prefer to mirror the sketch so that I can see what it looks like before I actually get to the revolve stage. Now, the very top of the wheel has obviously an arc or a curve to it, so make sure that it is smooth at the top, and make sure that the center point is on that construction line. And then if we draw our shape down the side, as we come in, we can actually see on the inside of the wheel, there's a little step in the middle. So we're going to draw that little step here. Leave it here, actually. So we've done the rough profile, and that'll be ready for mirroring in a minute. At this point, let's add some dimensions. Now, with the construction line here, when you're doing your dimensions, you can measure the full width of the part, put your dimension from the line to the construction line, and then move your cursor to the other side, and you'll get double dimension or a diameter. In this case, this dimension, 18. Now, with that one being 18, that'll update our full size of the part. It'll scale everything to suit that. Everything else after that will actually change how it looks. Right, so now I'll put 37 in for the full height, 4 across the middle. That little step is 0.6. The inside diameter to this step here is 16.2, and to this outside point here, 32. Now that's set most of our shape, but it hasn't accounted for the pattern on the Tyre. Now that pattern that we can see is done in 2 steps, and I'll show you that up close. We're going to do that by adding in a flat section to this revolve. So I'm going to draw a line here and a line here, and I'm going to give these some dimensions that I can measure to those edges. Now, some of these dimensions are so small, it's hard to measure exactly. So in my case, what I've done is adjusted their shapes to match the appearance rather than the measuring. Okay. And I'm just going to trim away that middle section. So this sketch profile now is ready for mirroring. So I select all of that sketch, I press mirror about, construction line. And then in most cases that would be done. What's happened is I've lost that height dimension of 37. So I'm just going to put that back. And that is interesting. Has lost. Oh, well, we can see actually it's lost the coincident relation that was to the endpoint of that arc. So we just need to get that back on that construction line there. And that's fully defined. And then we can do our revolve. All right, now that's the main profile of our wheel. We have now work to do to create the rest of the detailing. And the trickiest part has by far been that next sketch. Okay, so we've got here some of the surfaces of the outer shape that we need. Now we need that alternative in the cut pattern of the wheel. I'm going to do another sketch on the front plane. And this one, we're going to turn on that original so I can see where the lines are. And this one has a different shape. We're going straight down. We're having a step here and then a different step at the bottom and then closing this at the top. So we measured that top section, measured approximately how much lower this point is, and then we've measured the height of that point is there. So this is creating some different flat surfaces. And then what we're doing here to get this shape is we've counted how many of the patterns there are in the wheel. There are, I think it's 24, we'll work that out in a second. There's 32 patterns, 32 instances of the pattern. All right, now there's 360 degrees in the wheel. We want to divide those instances divide that 360 degrees by the number of instances, because those instances essentially overlap. It was 32, all right, and there is one cut revolve. But what our plan is here is to add the features we need to this revolve, mirror it to the other side, and then repeat that pattern, but offset it. We're going to use a little trick to achieve that. Before we do the pattern, we want to put that fillet in, and then the pattern, as I said, we've got 32 instances, but that's both sides. So on one side, we've only got 16. I'm going to select both instances here, do a circular pattern, increase that number to 16. And now here's the fancy move. Instead of replicating this detail or even mirroring it and then trying to move all the faces, the easiest way to fix it is to mirror the whole body. So we're going to mirror this body, but we're not going to merge. That's the main thing here. Tick that off. Okay. Now you can see they're in line at the moment, but we want to offset. So we're going to grab the body that's been copied. We're going to do a rotation. Now by default, because the origin's in the middle, it will revolve around the middle. So all we need to do is put in the distance that we are revolving. In this case, I think it will be the Y direction, 360 divided by 32. Sorry, wrong axis. It is the X axis. There we go. It's okay. And now you can see our instances are staggered. Offset. That's done. We can join them back together from a solid body. And when we've got just a few more details to do. Now on the inside face, we need to cut away some material. And we're doing that because this part, when it's molded, it's molded from this side, or say it's cored from this side. So we're just creating one of those sections and we can measure them, and then we can do our extruded cut. Now our cut is going 15 millimeters deep. For this, we're just going to select that one contour and put in our dimension. You know, we can do a circular pattern for the cut extrude. We'll reduce the number to 8. We should get this kind of appearance here on that side. Now on the other face, we have a chamfered entry, which we can approximate by measuring the diameter of that edge. So this edge here, we can see it's about 21.4. That's close enough. And then the very last detail that's going to make this finish off this mold is a sketch and an extrude of text that's on the outside. So for this, I'm going to sketch on this face, create a circle, which will make for construction. Now here's the trick for this circle. You still want to split the circle, not with points, sorry, but by splitting the entities so that there's two sections of the circle and the text can find a midpoint. And then the text itself, we're going to select that edge, hit the text tool, type in the text, 37 by 18R. And we can see that it's all wrong at the moment. We need to flip some things. First, we need to change the font. Now, I don't know the exact font, but maybe if we use one of these and go to the size around 2 millimeters, looks okay. Let's change it to centered flip the size, flip the direction. And then it looks a little bit bigger than this, so we can actually just spread out the text and spread out the spacing. Press OK. And then this is a embossed, debossed. It sticks above the surface, the text. So yeah, features, extrude, and just give a very small 0.1 of a millimeter. And we're done. That's really clean. Save that. Supply material. We go to appearances, rubber, and we just click and drag that material on, and then we're ready to go finish the assembly. So while we're here, let's finish off that last Technic bush as well. We have an extrude coming up the middle, 5.5, extruded 8. We've then cut our usual pin axle shape through that. So that again, 4.8 circle with 1.8 for the cross. This has a lip at the bottom, which we've done with an extruded thin, and another lip at the top, which we've done by offsetting or converting an edge from the axle profile. There is a slot through the middle, and then there's some fillets on both ends. We can't measure that, but it looks like there's a bit of material taken off. And then finally, the last step, this face just indented a little bit. All right, now we're ready to finish off the assembly. Okay, so we've inserted those parts. Now let's fix our mates. This will be concentric. And we then need the axle to line up, and this face will be touching. Coincident. The wheel, concentric. This face, coincident. And if you need to change some dimensions to get it to look like it's a touching fit, do that. We also want to put it in a nice position. Let's use our top plane to line up the text. And our last one, adding the Technic bush. So round on round, face to face, face to face. All right, now the trick is we've seen used already. We have multiple instances of this sub-assembly, one at the back and then 2 that are mirrored. All we need to do is move those 3 parts by holding control, clicking, dragging, and they're added to all 4 instances. And we're done. Nice work, everybody. Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end. Really appreciate that. This has been the LEGO Build and Learn series by Fully Defined. If the next video has been released, it'll be on the top link to your right. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and leave a comment below with what you'd like to see next. Your feedback is what motivates me to provide more content. See you in the next one.